Hi. So, like he said, I'm talking about bystander intervention and mental health today. And really simply, bystander intervention is just when you see something concerning and you reach out in some way. So I'm going to mainly be focusing on how to intervene when it comes to depression, because that's all we really have time for. But first, I want to talk to you about what we aren't going to be talking about today, which is that there's a pretty strong connotation with bystander intervention, which is that you got to be doing something pretty heroic or really big deal to have it considered like intervention, right? So it makes sense that we sort of get this binary thinking with it, right? Where if I'm not a hero, then there's not really anything else I can do to make a difference here, because that's what we see on the news, right? And we fail to consider that a lot of times there are a lot more realistic options in between, and this space is really what our daily lives look like more consistently. So as we're talking about this, I really want to encourage you to think about your daily life that you're already living and where you intersect with this issue. And the second thing that I'm not going to tell you what to do is that my message is not to just tell you to do the right thing. I don't think that's really going to get us anywhere. And I actually liken this to my struggle with morning exercise, because I really want to exercise in the morning, and I can list a ton of reasons why I feel more productive and I'm more focused and I feel like I have control of my life and just awesome, right? And then 6 a.m. rolls around and my bed is just so nice and warm. And this ends up being a really bad combination for me, 90% of the time failure rate bad, right? But at the same time, I really, really want to exercise in the morning. So I've even tried things like I put my shoes right next to my bed, and I wear exercise clothes to bed so that literally the only choice I have to make when my alarm goes off is to just choose to sit up, right? And I still don't do it. So this message is not as simple as, you just got to do it, right? Because it doesn't take into account that no matter how much we really want to do something, there's going to be an obstacle right there with us. And I think that where damage can really be done is when we see someone and we can just tell something's off, right? They aren't acting like themselves, something's going on, and we don't quite know what, and our gut's telling us man, reach out in some way, do something about that. But whatever was holding us back in the moment seemed too big, and we never do it. And I think that this quote by Martin Luther King Jr. captures this well. He says, "In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." And I don't want to invalidate the first part of that quote, but I do want to focus on the second part, the silence of our friends. Because friends aren't supposed to be silent, right? They're supposed to be there and show up and have your back. And if we were to replace friend with campus, we will remember the silence of our campus. How unsettling is that, right? But the truth is that all of us have been on both sides of this issue at one time or another. There are times, even years later, that I still carry where I was hurt. And there are also times that I carry when I have regrets about being that silent friend. So, next we're talking about sexual assault, and one of the regrets I carry is one time when us friends and I were hanging out, and it was just a normal night, and one of my good friends was assaulted, and I missed it. I was young, and I didn't know what to watch out for, and my sister missed it, and my other friends missed it. We missed it. And that's really a time where I feel like I could have influenced the outcome of that situation in a different way. And, we're talking about the I am and we are. And I think it's really easy to think that our actions can make an impact, but that somehow our inactions are benign. But we don't really have a choice about whether or not we have an impact on the people that are around us. What we're really just choosing is the type of impact that we're having. And sometimes being the silent friend, it doesn't mean that we're bad people or that we're morally defective somehow. It really just means that we're human, right? And this is not about being perfect or being able to step in and reach out every time. We're never going to be able to do that. But it's about showing up a little bit more when we want to and feeling good about how we respond. And one way to do that is to start by knowing what you're looking for. So this is from the blog Hyperbole and a Half. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. But as you're looking at this, I want you to think about if anybody sort of jumps out to you in your mind as, again, you think about your current day-to-day. So the person who created this blog, she actually struggles with ongoing depression, and so she wrote a few blog posts about her experience. So again, maybe this is a friend or a partner, somebody in your class or an organization, and I want you to keep in mind that person as we talk about it. But really, actually, before we can get to the acting part, we need to think about the things that have kept us silent in the past and why we don't step in. And one of the big ones is just assuming that somebody else is going to help or that they're already helping, especially if you aren't close with a person. You're like, oh, I noticed this, so surely their friends have noticed and they're taking care of it, right? Or maybe we question if we're actually like reading the situation right because nobody else seems to be helping and doing anything. Your friends don't talk about this kind of stuff, right? Guys aren't supposed to talk about this kind of stuff. Maybe it feels really messy, or like it'd take a little bit too much of your time to get involved. Or you don't even feel like you know what to say, and that you may like make it worse, or just make things like really super awkward, right? Or maybe you've tried in the past and it didn't turn out like you hoped. And the thing is that our obstacles aren't gonna go away. And that's really unfortunate. It's actually really annoying to me because I would hope that like as you do this more often, like somehow you evolve past your obstacles. But they're going to be right there with you. And so the idea is that if you do have an obstacle or maybe multiple stacked in front of you, that it's finding a workaround, right? Finding a realistic option that you can do so that you can still show up when you want to. So the 3 Ds are just different kinds of actions that you can take in a situation. Really, none of these are new, and you've all done them like multiple times, right? But the first one's direct. So this doesn't mean like a direct confrontation. It really just means that you're the direct person taking action in the moment. And it also doesn't really even have to be super involved or a big deal, right? So it could be, hey, you haven't been yourself lately. You know, if you ever want to talk about it or go, hang out and get out of your apartment, just let me know. Or, hey, how can I be supportive right now? Or you send a text to a friend just saying that you're thinking about him and you plan for coffee. Or you talk to another friend and you say, hey, have you noticed this? Maybe we should figure out what to do together, right? Or maybe it's something like you guys sign up for a gym membership together, or you set a weekly time where all your friends are getting together and having a meal once a week, right? Distract, you want to do this when appropriate. Usually with mental health, it's either going to be a direct or a delegate. And distract is not the same thing as like minimizing a situation or avoiding a situation, but one would be, so let's say that you plan to spend time with a friend because their parent passed away and their parent's birthday's coming up, right? And regardless of whether or not you talk about it, you want to be there and you just want to spend some time. I also want to share a bad distract, and this is the only one I'm going to tell you not to do. So there's no scenario where partying to de-stress for the night has a positive outcome for somebody that's struggling with depression. It just doesn't work that way. So like drinking or smoking weed physiologically pulls down somebody's mood even more, so it's even worse. And in addition to that, it's increasing impulsivity, which can lead to regrets, which makes things worse, or even something that's really dangerous, or something dangerous to happen. So it leaves people in just a worse spot. So a better way to handle it is to really try to be supportive in those times, to encourage them not to drink or smoke. So that could be like where you're making plans to do other things and avoiding those situations where it's present. Or if you guys are going to a party and they are choosing not to drink, maybe you offer not to drink with them and be supportive in that way for that night. Or if the plan is to go out and you don't think it's a very good plan, you make plans to do something else, right? And then the last one's delegate. And this one's where you just get somebody else to do it, which I actually really like because it counts just as much as the other two. But really, like there are going to be times when there's somebody in a better position to help, right? And if you do delegate, of course you want to follow up and check back in. And if you're ever feeling like unsafe to check in, you definitely want to choose the delegate option. But delegate would be, so if you have a friend that you don't know super well, but you got that close mutual friend, and you get them to check in because they're a little bit closer and they can do it, right? Or you talk to an RA or a professor or somebody on your exec board and you share your concerns and have them check in. Or maybe you get them connected with resources that would be supportive that exists on campus, because there are so many resources on campus, right? The Multicultural Resource Center, the Spiritual Center, the LGBTQ Center, right? The Health Promotion Office, Center for Women Students, CAPS. There are so many things that you can do to delegate, right? And I do want to make a caveat to this. The majority of people that are struggling with depression aren't suicidal. But the two highest risk factors for suicidality are depression and risky drinking and drug use. So if you check in with somebody and it does end up being an emergency, they are having thoughts about hurting themselves in some way or hurting somebody else, get an RA, call CAPS, you can call the CAN helpline, you can call 911, right? But I also want to let you know that this isn't all on you. You are their peer, you are not their therapist. And you don't have to be. Your role is to just keep showing up. And you don't even have to fix anything or even have the right advice all the time. Like even just saying, I don't even really know what to say right now, but I'm really just glad that you told me, can be so powerful. I think Brené Brown says it well when she said, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection. And these are all just tools for you to be able to use to show up for someone else. So the 3Ds are different options to react in those spaces where you intersect, right? Where you intersect with those people. And I'd like you to envision a campus map and your daily path on it. And not just your path, but everyone in this room, like everyone's daily paths, and how many opportunities we have at those intersection points, which is great. And that makes a difference, right? But we're also battling a larger cultural stigma and silence when it comes to mental health. And so it's also taking proactive contributions in order to change that culture. So that would be almost like all the spaces in between all those different intersection points, right? So if we were all to contribute like 2 or 3 moments, either proactive or reactive, those campus maps would begin to change, right? They would begin to look different and begin to change, not just for us, within us, but also for the people around us. So to close, I want you to pull out your phone, and I want you to pull up either calendar or your notes or your task manager, whatever you use to write something down so that you're going to do something. And I want you to think of one thing, one either proactive or reactive thing that you want to do in the next 24 hours related to this issue. So maybe a reactive thing would be you use one of the 3Ds with the person that was on your mind as we were talking about this. Or there's a friend who confided in you in the past and you haven't checked in a while, so you want to check in with them. Or maybe it's something proactive. Maybe you want to learn more about depression, or you just want to know how to help a friend better, so Google it, right? Or go read the blog Hyperbole and a Half and then post it to Facebook. Or tweet something about this conference. Talk to an administrator, write a newspaper article, right? Choose mental health as a topic for one of your papers this semester, or maybe a speech that you're giving. Talk to your friends about how to be supportive to each other. There's a whole wide range of options of things that we can all do to contribute to a culture where, 1, silence is not tolerated in regards to mental health. We are not silent about it. And 2, everyone has a role to play. So to close, I really just hope that these tools were helpful for you and give you the courage to show up when you want to for your peers and on our campus. Thank you.